Volim da gledam kako Bane gospodari, sve to. Vreme je za našeg prvog gosta večeras. Na moje veliko zadovoljstvo sa nama će biti najbolji atletičar 20. veka, Karl.
Hello. Hello. How's it going? Well, we have a show to do here.
Yeah, please.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Now, wait a minute here. If you're going to be that good, do I need to sit over there?
Well, maybe.
You know,
Maybe.
Who said yeah?
Yeah, somebody said yeah.
She's like me.
Yeah.
She owned it too. That's okay. Don't hide. It's all right.
She will not come next time.
Okay. Well, and I say your check's in the mail.
Okay. Welcome to my show, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you.
Belgrade obviously loves you, and I was very excited when I got the information that you will be the guest on my show, because when I was a kid, I thought you are the Superman. So I'm very happy to have you here. How do you feel in Belgrade, and what do you think about the Belgrade Marathon? This is the second time, I think.
Yes, second time, and it was great today. The weather, it was a little warm for a lot of the marathoners, but in terms of the public, it was great. It was beautiful today. And did you all enjoy the weather today?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was sunny.
They were so happy to come here to shoot the show, you know.
Well, you know, and they got a chance to see the show, see everything. But no, it was an amazing event, very well organized. It was great to see the family run as well as a half marathon and a marathon. So we were up early and out there all day long. So I had a great time.
So do you see some improvement in the organization, considering the first time when you were the promoter of the Belgrade Marathon and today? Because we like to believe that this is a very well-organized event that we have.
Oh, I thought it was very well organized. And the one thing that I did like the most was the start and the finish, because a lot of times when you have multiple distances, you have to run them at different times to end. And so this was set up where the fun run can go here. They could all finish at the same place at the same time, but you clearly knew which race was which. So I thought that was the greatest thing about it.
And how do you see, as a sprinter, how do you see these people that run for 42 kilometers, you know? As
well, I trained with distance runners, and so I'm used to what they do. They don't like sprinting, and we didn't like distance. So whenever they had to come on the track and do their sprint workouts, they say, oh, God, this is the worst day. I want to go take a run. So I understand that we were born with different genes and different bodies, and I could never do what they do, and they profess to never be able to do what I do.
Well, many people in the world was never able to do what you did and what you do. So I would like to speak a little bit about your career, because in Serbia we didn't have much opportunity to know things about Karl Lewis. Except seeing you on the big events. And I would like you to tell us, how did you start to do the athletics? I got information that it's with your parents, and your father was your coach.
Yeah, what happened, my parents started a track club, mainly because of my mother wanted to start a program for girls, and so boys ended up joining, and that's how I got involved in this sport. But growing up, we were involved in a lot of sports. I played American baseball, was actually swam, dived.
In one moment you were the #1 pick at the draft from Chicago.
Well, yeah, but I did that was later, yeah. And so and I played soccer for 6 years growing up. So
soccer, that's
strange, yeah. I played 6 years. So we were involved in many sports, and my parents happened to be the ones that were involved in sports. They were teachers, so therefore it was kind of a natural for us. And then they being track coaches, I gravitated to that because that was what was for me.
And then tell me, were you playing in the attack in soccer or defense?
Yeah, I was a center forward.
Oh, yes.
And then sometimes that was when I was young. You know, and actually when I was playing soccer, I wasn't really as fast on the track. So I was a fast soccer player, but not as fast as track.
As athletics. And when did you find your talent and that unbelievable speed? Who discovered it, and how did you decide to focus only on the athletics?
Well, for me, to be honest, I was a long jumper. You know, and it's funny because people always say fastest man in the world, but I was really a long jumper. Yeah. So the 100 meters was my second event, the 200 was my third event. And when I went to college in high school, when I was about 15 years old, I was strictly a long jumper and hurdler, high hurdler. I did not sprint.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did not sprint because I wasn't fast enough at the time. So, and then when I was 16 years old, my second year in high school, I was running on the relay team as a guy, and my speed started to come around. So now I was a high hurdler, intermediate hurdler, long jumper, triple jumper, 100, 200 relay, and I said, wait a minute, we've got to stop something. So I stopped hurdling because my main event was the long jump. And so that was kind of how I got into it. And then later, my last year in college is when I said, I'll try to do both.
Because in your career, in 11 years, you had 9 gold medals in long jump and 7 in 100 meters, if I'm right. If we count the one.
Yeah, so I had the most. So between the World Championships and Olympics, I had 7 gold medals, 7 medals, and then of course the 100 was separate.
Well, it's amazing.
Well, one story.
And let's say that we could say that the crucial year in your career was 1981. That's when you started to represent a serious name in the world of athletics. And you won both, I think, long jump and 100 meters as well.
Yeah.
And then later you will be one of the rare persons who was running below the 10 seconds in the time when you did it first time in your life. But the most important event for us outside the States was the Olympic Games in Los Angeles. And if you agree, I would like to see that race and then also the long jump, and we'll speak about it. But I think this is first the race.
All right.
It was absolutely amazing for me as a kid because you're coming out of nowhere and just like a fast train. And on these Olympics you won 4 gold medals and you equalized what Jesse Owens did in 30s. So how did you feel about it, and was this how it was from your perspective?
Well, actually, Jesse was an idol of mine as a kid growing up, and it was just a goal that I never would have imagined that I could even think about, and ultimately had a chance to try to achieve. And so in the Olympic Games, the long jump is always the second or third event, and the 100 is always the first event. So you've got to go in, even though my #1 event is always the second event. So you have to win the 100. And when you're going for 4, I could have actually, let's say, got the silver in the 100, and then the talk would have been, you didn't get 4 the rest of the week. So that's what makes it so important to win that first, and so it was very big.
And then you got the long jump as well.
Yes, the long jump was second.
And then the people were not very satisfied because you didn't beat the Bob Beamon record, but you had to watch yourself because you had 200 meters coming and then 4 times 100-meter relay for the American national team, and you managed to beat all those goals.
Well, it was interesting because people, you know, and I didn't understand it as much there because I was so focused, but people said, I bought a ticket to see you long jump. You jumped twice and won. What's that all about? You know? And they didn't realize that over the course of 8 days, believe it or not, I competed in 11 races and 2 days of long jump. And so people said, well, I'm not worried about that. I just bought a ticket today. You know?
I want to see you jumping.
You know?
But no, you won the gold medal.
Yeah, exactly.
Winning, you know.
You're going to the bar tomorrow. I have to jump again. You know?
Yeah, we go for a beer and you have to jump again tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
So can we see the long jump? If you agree? It's also the same Olympics.
Heat is winding down, but Lewis has to block that out, has to only think about heading down the runway and getting off as long a jump as possible.
Al, right now, looking at the sock that's right next to the runway, he's got a bit of a headwind, and I think that's what he's waiting for, is to decide what to do with his step with regards to this win. And here he comes.
And he's running down in tandem with the steeplechase runners going to the finish, but he's blocked him out, and his jump, and the crowd responds to that out at about the 8.5-meter mark. The way it winds up. Lewis wins it. As Dwight said, that one jump.
What I thought I will ask you if I see you ever in my life is like, I never saw you being nervous. I never saw you without a smile. I mean, these are the Olympics and it's in your country and the pressure must be enormous and you're chasing for the historic result. Still you're smiling and enjoying.
I was too young to know better. You know, really, honestly, I turned 23 1 month before that happened. Less than a month, actually. So I was so young and so focused and ready. And I knew that when you have that many days in a row, you can't turn the light switch off. So, and I tell people this all the time, I come to the meet, I turn that switch on, it stays on until the meet is over. So my light switch was on for 8 straight days.
Yeah, it's amazing. Was that your secret, actually?
Yeah, that was it. Even when I got to in the rounds, the first rounds, I would go out to a meet and run hard. Everyone said, "Why do you run the races, the rounds so hard?" I said, "Because the switch is always on."
Yeah, cool. Then what is very specific for you are the 2 historical moments in the athletics. One was 1988 in Seoul on the Olympic Games. The other one was Tokyo 1991. And it's like in Seoul, you had a big stress 1 year before the Olympics. Yes,
right.
Your father died. And you placed your gold medal from Los Angeles in his hand. And you said to your mom that, "Don't worry, I'll get another one."
Right.
And it must be very hard for you in that time to prepare yourself for the Olympics, if we consider how much your parents were important for your career.
Well, for me, I use it the opposite way. You know, the last thing my father said was kind of like, "Never miss a meet, never miss a track meet." You know, that was kind of the last thing I remember clearly him saying. And I use it as an inspiration. Say, okay, well, I made this promise, and I'm not going to miss a meet. And so it was very disappointing when I crossed the line in Seoul. Not necessarily because I didn't cross the line first, because I knew what it was. And the thing is that I started running at 7 years old. And so my parents always said, run with honor and work hard and dedication. And then here I am challenged to be the biggest race that I've ever thought, not just from an athletic standpoint, but actually from a personal standpoint. And it was a race with no honor. And that was kind of the difficult part for me.
Yes. Can we see the race now,
Yeah.
and then we'll continue to speak about it?
And it's a fair start. And it is Raymond Kerr with a start. It is Ben Johnson with a start. Can Karl catch him? No! It's Ben Johnson! Ben Johnson does it again! Unbelievable! 9-7-9!
Absolutely incredible! What a start!
Yeah, it was.
It was the best start of Ben Johnson's life.
How did you see the race, Karl?
Well, I pressed a little out of the blocks today, and I just don't feel it was the best race I ran here. The only thing I have to say is that, you know, I talked to my mother about it last night, and she had a dream 2 nights ago. And my father just said, I'm all right, and that's all I feel. I gave it my best shot, and the thing to do is go into the next race.
Well, actually, that is a famous race with Ben Johnson. For those who doesn't know, he was representing Canada, and 2 days after,
2 days later,
two days later, yes, he showed positive on the test, on the steroids. Yes.
You know, for me, I think that was interesting. I haven't seen that part of it since probably then, because I ran it. and the interesting thing about it, I do remember that my mother came to me and said that to me that morning. She said, "Don't worry about it. Dad said the race is going to be okay." And so when I look back on that, you know, a few years later, I really thought the race wasn't about winning that day. It was about who did my parents raise me to be, and how did I handle that moment. And I think that moment was preordained based on the way I reacted. I really do. I feel that. And
well, you showed a lot of dignity there. You had in Rome a year before in Rome.
Yeah.
You beat him, if I'm right. Yeah.
Yeah. We all knew Ben, because Ben's coach was a drug coach, so
Yeah.
we all knew what was happening. And that was a frustrating thing. So we in the sport got to the point where we said, well, I guess they're just going to let him get away with it. So we're going to have to try to beat him anyway. That's kind of where we came to.
That was maybe the first big incident in the
Yeah.
history of sport, as far as I can remember, that somebody's losing the gold medal at the Olympics because of that. And then again, it's some justice for you that your gold medal came back. Like you said, you will get it again, and you got it there because you were the second place, and then automatically you.
Well, but you know another thing too, that a lot of you and everyone that might have seen the race don't know, that I actually long jumped the next day and won the long jump before I got that medal.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that ultimately the first gold medal that I received in Seoul was the long jump, which was my favorite event at the end of the day.
Okay. And what is about the long jump? I wanted to ask you, but as far as I know, you're the first one that made the world record with low altitude. Because before you, some guys had some good results, but on high altitude. And it was your big wish to do it at low altitude because you wanted to prove that you're the best, and you found that that's the only way. Is it really so important?
Well, you know what? When I was young, I jumped 879 when I was 20 years old. And so I was so young, and I said, oh, I can break this record. But what happened is I liked doing the multiple events. And I had a meeting with my coach one day, and I said, do you think I could win 4 gold medals? And then he says, and this was in 1981. And he says, I don't know. And I said, do you think I can break the world record in the long jump? Yes. I said, okay, I'm going to make this clear here. You don't know if I can win 4 gold medals, but you know I can break the world record. He said, yes. I said, let's go for 4.
Let's go for 4.
And because I wanted to try what I wasn't sure about and move on from what I was. And so I feel Mike Powell's a tremendous world record holder. It's a phenomenal jump. But I made a choice to do the multiple events over focusing on one. And because when I first came in, you're right, I wanted that world record. But then I diverted my attention to doing the multiples. But then at the end of the day, I did jump what I thought I would have jumped. So Mike had a phenomenal jump and has the record.
Yes, it was really the unbelievable event. How is it, the big athletics like you are, and the sport people like Mike Phelps in swimming, or Roger Federer in tennis, Novak Djokovic, people like that. For example, winning the silver medal, it's very often like a failure. That's how people see it, and the public and the news reporters. And does it make a much bigger pressure on you guys than on some sport people that are not so high level?
Well, I think that a lot of athletes, if they allow people to define what people think about them. I was fortunate. I was in the Olympic Games in 10 events, and I was able to go through and had 1 silver medal to my teammate. And when they came to me, I really defined that because I said, this guy ran a great race today, he won it. So I was able to help define what the reality of it was. And so oftentimes we let that get out of control, and the press starts saying, you got to win 4. Because, you know, when I was going for 4 in L.A., people would say, well, what if you only win 3 gold medals and get 1 silver? And it became that absurd. And I said, you know, do you hear yourselves? Listen to this. What if you only win 3 gold medals and get 1 silver? And I said, that's absurd. Okay, let's stop this talk. It's ridiculous.
You will have to live with it.
So, you know, you define.
Yeah, of course.
You know, so, I mean, these are guys that can't even make the Olympic team, okay? You know.
Yeah.
So I think that it's up to us too to help define that reality and not let the press or the pressure. But there is pressure, of course. But I always looked at it in a way that I didn't feel the pressure as much as a lot of people because I felt like you prepare for your event. And I always said you improve during the week and you show it in the meet. So you don't go to the meet. That's why I was fortunate enough to win 4 long jumps in a row, because I never fouled in the Olympics. Yeah. You know, I wasn't worried about it. I was prepared.
You had 65 winnings in a row in long jump.
Right.
For 11 years, yes?
Yeah, almost 11 years.
Almost 11 years. And then 9 gold medals in the World Championships and the Olympics, and 2 silvers in 11 years.
9 gold medals in the Olympics. Yeah. And 8 in the Worlds. So I was in 20 finals, and I was 17 in.
Okay. So that explains everything. And now, if you agree, I would like to see the part from Tokyo. This is the race. It's not a long jump. So we'll speak about the long jump as well, but I would like to speak about this race as well.
Karl Lewis, rata 5. Ja nopea, tiukka, kova lähtö. Mitchell lähtee kuin raketti, mutta myöskin Barrel lähtee ja kakkosrata Reis Stewart lähtee. Ja milloin tulee Karl Lewis? Ja kuka tämä voittaa? Barrelko? Ei, vaan Lewis voittaa! 9.86 viimeisellä 10 metrillä. Karl Lewis tulee kuin venytetty kuminauha ja ohittaa koko joukon ja juoksee ennätykseksi 9.86 ja myötätuulta 1,2 metriä sekunnissa. Karl Lewis lähestyy Ben Johnsonin aikoja.
So, we said already that long jump was your #1 event, but considering the fact that this is your #2 event and you're holding the world record, how does it feel like? And you're the fastest man in the world.
Well, honestly, I understood the value of that title. I sprinted because I really understood the value of that title. I mean, when in the 80s, the world's fastest man, the world's greatest athlete, heavyweight champion. That was it.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing matched that. Now everyone's saying, oh, we're the best athlete. No. That was it. And so I understood that title. So when I became a better sprinter, I said, I want to be the fastest man in the world. I want to be considered that. And my main event was a long jump, but I wanted to be considered that.
This was in the history, why this race is important, in the history of racing, the 100 meters. This was, I think, the first time that all the finalists went below 10 seconds. And that was unbelievable for that time.
Right. Actually, 6 of 8, and that was, I think, matched. This last Olympics was the first time that happened again.
If we consider that this was like 22 years ago, and it was different with the people and their muscles and everything. How do you see today athletics? Like we have Usain Bolt that runs unbelievably on 100 meters, and he dominates in all the races and laughing at the end. And it's
you know what? I look at it differently because a lot of people dissect it, but for me, I had an 18-year career that ended in 1997, and I put the cutoff then. It was like graduation for me. And so I watch the athletes now. I wish them best. Of course, I root for the Americans, number one, because that's my country. But the reality is that I try not to inject myself into what they're doing now. I make a joke like, my career is a piece of paper now because that's where it is. You won't see me run anymore.
Yeah, okay, but I think that people will never forget it, believe me.
Yeah.
It's really amazing.
And that's great.
How do you see the limits of the human body? Are there the limits for the human body?
Well, no, I don't think so. I mean, I think that ultimately we'll be gone when the records are still going, and I think that's the way it's supposed to be. People try to compare and say, oh, you are so much better than that one, or that one's so much better because they ran under 10 seconds. I ran under 10 seconds, I don't know, maybe 20 times, and said, well, this person ran it 45 times, they're better. Well, I say that's irrelevant, because ultimately in sports, you beat the people you run against. So when they say, well, isn't so-and-so better because they ran it 45 times? I said, do you think so-and-so would have beat Jesse Owens if he was running now? No. Okay? Yeah. Jesse would be winning right now because he was better. So I think that if we focus on people running against the people they compete against, then we're okay.
We'll be fine. Another event in Tokyo that came to the history was your long jump contest, and there was Mike Powell, and he was flying like never before in his life, and you were also, you break your own personal record in that event, but it was not enough, and there was this wind issue, if I remember well. There was
on my big jump. Yeah. Well, you know what, it's really interesting, because after setting the world record in 100, I went out to long jump, and I really told myself, look, I want to set the world record in the long jump and retire from the long jump and stop jumping and just sprint, because the long jump is so much harder. I mean, matter of fact, I'm going to go to them. It's so much harder, okay? Sprinters are wimps, okay? And I used to do both workouts every day. And then we get in, and Mike had a phenomenal jump. And I really felt that I was going to break the record that day and stop jumping. And so in a lot of ways, I thank Mike, because by Mike winning that long jump and setting the record, I said, I got to go back and get this, I got to jump some more. And believe it or not, I won 2 Olympic gold medals after Tokyo. Yeah. So if it wasn't for that record day with Mike Powell, then I would have stopped jumping, and I would have ended at 2 gold medals, and no telling when I would have.
Too early,
yeah. Yeah, too early. So Mike and I are good friends now, and I thank him, because I had my best day ever, and he had the world record.
If I remember well, you were good friends there as well. It was very good atmosphere between
we were good friends. We were competitors on the track now. You know, I always had this motto, you know, we're on the track, I'm going to beat you bad. We'll have a beer later. Yeah. But I'm going to beat you now, though.
Just to remind the people, now you have to help me, because I don't know the exact numbers, but you won a bunch of medals in 4 times 100 meters relay with the United States national team, breaking the world record how many times?
I don't know how many.
A few times.
3 or 4 times with the national team, and then once with Santa Monica Track Club.
And then in 200 meters, you also won a lot of medals.
Yep, won the the Olympic Games. I never ran the World Championships in the 200. Well, I actually got a bronze medal in the World Championships there, and won the Olympics in the 200 as well. And then the 200 relay, we still have the record.
Yes. And tell me, in this, in the history of winners of the Olympic medals, you're also in the top 5, if I'm right.
Right now in gold medals, I'm number 2. So Michael Phelps has just blew everyone away.
Oh yeah, that's
They just he just blew everyone. He just jumped in the pool and it was over. You know, so he's had a great career, and he has the most. And then I am with 3 other people that are second.
Second,
in gold medals.
It's also Mark Spitz, the swimmer as well, I think. Yeah, okay. So what do you do today? How does your life look like?
Well, you know, my life is interesting. I have a company, a marketing and branding company named CLEG. I'm a United Nations ambassador for the Food and Agriculture Organization, so I travel with that. I have great relationships with different companies, Nike and Hershey and different things. But I also make appearances and go. I enjoy going to events like this because there's a connection. You know, I don't go to track meets at all. You'll never see me at the World Championships, and when I go to the Olympics, you'll see me at other sports because my relationship with sport is family and fitness. And through my foundation, I work with young people and kids and families. So this is the marathon works exactly what I enjoy doing in my time. So that's why an event like today, going over to the museum and going around the places and actually going out and seeing the animals and watching where the kids ran their race last week.
There's a child marathon.
Yeah, it's a child marathon. And then watching the race today and seeing the families and the kids. That's what I do in terms of athletics and running. That's because that's where my interest is.
When you ended up your career, how it was for you? Did you make some event or you just decided from today I'm not competing anymore?
I decided the year before. Yeah, in '96 I said I'm going to retire next year. And I was ready and I was prepared. And so I went the entire year of 1997 competing, knowing it was my last year. And my last race, I organized it to be at my home track in Houston. So they had an event, and I ran a relay with my relay team, Leroy Burrell, Mike Marsh, Floyd Hurd, and myself. And we crossed the line. We had a ceremony. And then some friends had a big block party. I woke up 2 days later. And that was it. You know, and it's really interesting because in a lot of ways, the memory, I know I had my career, but it's like high school to me. I know I went there, but it's just in the past.
Okay, for the end, I would like to use this opportunity to ask you if you can send some message to the young people that are watching us. I hope that many of them realized tonight how good sport is and how important it is for the people around the world. And is there anything that you can tell them?
Yeah.
Like a message? Well,
you know, my thing to kids, I always tell them is, first of all, have fun. There's plenty of time to turn pro in sports, okay? So have fun, be well-rounded. You know, study in school. It's not just education to fall back on, but that's discipline. And be a good teammate to your teammates. Try multiple sports. Do not cut yourself off young and say, oh, I'm just going to be a tennis player. No, play. If that's your favorite sport, that's great. But also do athletics, do soccer, do whatever. Multiple sports. Continue your studies because that's good for you. And just have fun. If it's not fun, stop.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It was, I just want to tell one more time that this was like a dream night for me because I finally met you and I had you on my show, and I hope that you will come again in Belgrade and that then you will come again to my show, or that I will meet you ever again in my life. All the best to you, and I'm really very happy that I had you
thank you very much.
On my show.
Thank you.
Ostanite sa nama, dolazi nam Rudolf posle reklama.